And so she runs into this guy named Connor, who is a documentary. Hello everybody, my name is Kelsey and we're about to get very, very nerdy with my September and Magical Readathon TBR. So in September this year, we are doing the Magical Readathon. That's not new. If you guys have been around here any amount of time, you guys know I love the Magical Readathon, but it usually takes place in August. This year, however, the one who created it had some personal stuff. I think she had a lot of stuff going on in August and it didn't really work, so she pushed it back to September. I personally love that it's in September. I don't think I would have been able to participate very well last month, but in September, we can, dive into some more reading, I think. And it's the start of fall, so it really feels like a better month to have the Autumn Equinox in, But beyond that, that's a month-long readathon, and it's the only one I'm participating in September. So I will chapter this video like I usually do when I have readathons like this. So I'll do my TBR picks first, and then we will go into the Magical Readathon TBR. I'll leave an announcement video and all that fun stuff down below if you'd like to check it out and you have no idea what I'm talking about. But before we dive into the TBR picks, let's take a look and see how I did in August. I am scared. Alright, the first pick for August was to read a book including smut. I originally had Saving Verico for this one, but I changed it to Stuck With You by Ali Hazelwood. Read a book ending in an even number, which I chose Killers of a Certain Age by Deanna Raybourn. We then had Seasonal Cover, which was Below Zero by Ali Hazelwood. Set in a Warm Place, we had The Honeymoon Crashers by Christina Lauren. An A to Z book, we got C, and I chose Crown of Midnight. For a foiled cover, I chose Immortality by Dana Schwartz, because it has this brain on the cover. For a book with royalty included, I chose Throne of the Fallen by Carrie Maniscalco. A book featuring mental health rep, I chose Beautiful Nightmares by KJ Sutton. And to read a book under 300 pages, I chose Mr. Malcolm's List. So, out of the, I ended up having 9 picks, so we had an extra pick. I read 5 things. So, I didn't get Mr. Malcolm's List. I'm actually going to get rid of unhaul this book, because I've had it on a ton of TBRs, and I don't really have any desire to pick it up right away. So, I think we're going to unhaul that one. I didn't get to Beautiful Nightmares. This thing is a chunk, and that just didn't happen. I also didn't get to Throne of the Fallen, which I'm a little bitter about, but I just didn't make time for it. And then Crown of Midnight, which I thought I might be able to squeeze into the end of the month, but I don't think I'm going to be able to. So, I don't know. These two, I might change my mind on some of my picks for the Magical Readathon, and these might show up in next month. So I have 4 books I didn't read, so I don't have any kind of reward or anything. So let's just dive right into the first pick for September. Pick number 1. A yearly reading goal. The first pick is a yearly reading goal, and that can be anything I choose. So as a refresher, some of the things that I have chosen as reading goals for the year is to read a specific type of book every single month, one of those being subscription box books. So for this one, I have chosen One Dark Window by Rachel Gillig, Gillig, I believe is how you pronounce it. It's the first in a duology. It's my Fairy Loot edition. Look how beautiful this is. I don't remember when I got it, but it's fancy special edition. This is, oh look, here we go. I got this one in October of 2022. So, been quite a while. I've heard really good things. So this one I'm thinking is going to be good for the spooky kind of fall vibe. I really wanted to get to this one last year and I just didn't make time for it. This one follows our main character Elsep, who has a spirit trapped inside her head. She calls him the Nightmare. He protects her, he keeps her secrets, but nothing comes for free, especially magic. So it's this girl who's got kind of like this monster in her head, and I think she ends up going on a journey, if you will, with a highwayman. Together they embark on a dangerous quest to cure the town of the dark magic infesting it. So I've heard good things. It feels gothic-y, perfect for the fall time. and it's a fairy loot book. So that's the one I'm choosing for this one. Pick number 2. Read a book that was gifted. So the next one is a book that's been gifted, and I have quite a few, but to make some things work for the readathon, I have gone with She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. I believe this is the first duology as well. This one actually was my very first unplugged box book. That was a weird way to phrase that. That I got. I used to be an affiliate with them, and so they would send me boxes for free to unbox and show you guys, and this was the very first one. So the box was gifted to me, so that's what I'm choosing to use this one as. I've heard good things. I'm not so sure about this one. This one follows our main character, who is, I believe, a twin. Maybe not a twin, but she's got a brother, and it has been fated that the boy has greatness and the girl is nothingness. It takes place in 1345 China under Mongol rule. And so something happens and her brother ends up dying. And so she, I think, takes his identity to make something of herself. And it's giving, like, everyone I've heard, it says it gives like Mulan vibes, and I think it's just because like she takes on the identity of a guy. I don't really know what I'm getting into. I've heard good things. I don't know a lot about this specific time period, but like I love this cover. I think it's stunning. So I want to read this to see if the second one is worth it, but also I've just had it on my shelves for a very long time, and I'm very curious about it. And I think it does have some fantastical elements as well. I also forgot that I have a separate, like, special edition cover, but I kind of like the original one better. Anyway, you didn't need to know all that. This is the one I'm choosing for this one as a gift. That was very long-winded. Pick number 3. Most recent purchase. All right, your most recent purchase. So you guys will not have seen this haul yet. It's coming. But I recently went to my used local bookstore. You guys know I love this. I ended up picking up quite a few manga. So I've gone with the first volume of Sezuko and Miyano. Sure. This is a boy love manga. I got the first 3. I believe there's like 7 or something like this, but it's basically 2 schoolboys falling in love. I'm pretty sure there's a bad boy senior meets adorably awkward underclassmen. One of them falls in love, and so on and so forth. But although one of them is a self-proclaimed boy love expert, he hasn't quite realized he's in one himself. So it's a male-male relationship of sorts. It literally says right here on the front, BL for boy love, ship request denied. So like I said, I got the first 3. That was what was there at my used bookstore, and I'm curious to see what it's about. But it's a short manga, and I can fit it in with the thousands of other things I need to read this month. Number 4. Read a book by a POC author. So the next one is to read a book by a POC author. So I have chosen another manga, the second volume of A Sign for Affection, which I loved this first one. I read it in that very ridiculously long vlog I did where I went through a bunch of mangas to see what I liked and what I didn't. This one, like I said, is the second one. It follows our main female lead who is deaf. And so her falling in love with this boy and him kind of learning sign language and things like that. I have the first 2, and I really enjoyed the first one. I thought it was super fun and cute. So we're going to dive into the second one and see how their relationship continues. Very excited about that. Number 5. Read a romance. The next one is simply just read a romance, which is perfect and straightforward. So I have chosen The True Love Experiment by Christina Lauren. This is, I believe, the book that came out last year for them. Do not own a physical copy yet, which I think hurts my soul because I love Christina Lauren, you guys know. But I'll probably get a copy of this before I read it. Let's be honest. Anyway, this one follows our main 2 characters. One of them is Felicity, or Fizzy, and she is a romance author. And she has an incredible career as this novelist, best-selling, that kind of stuff. And she ends up doing a commencement speech and realizes that she has not been living her life that way. She's never really been in love. Then she runs into this guy named Connor, who is a documentary filmmaker, and his boss has decided that he needs to do a reality show. So the two of them run into each other, and he ends up kind of pitching the idea of, what if we did like a reality dating show for you, the Queen of Love, trying to find love? And she's like, I don't know about this, but here's my list of demands. And he goes, great, let's do it. And so it's a bachelor dating reality type show, and of course it's gonna be the two of them falling in love. But I love me some Christina Lauren, you guys know this, so this one is the one I'm choosing for that. Number 6. A book released this year. The next one is a book that was released in 2024. So I'm trying to squeeze this one in near the beginning of the month, but I'm going to go with this one, which is Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. This is the second book by her that I have. I have Yours Truly, and I found out that this is actually a series. The first one being, Part of Your World, I think. And I can't find a connection except for that they all have to do with medical field in some way. But this reminds me of whatever that movie is, and I cannot remember it right now. But it's all about like the guy who, everybody he dates, they find their one true love after. And so this follows two people who have that happening. They end up kind of creating a deal that they will date each other for one summer, and hopefully this will like stop the curse and they will find their one true love after dating each other. Other things go down because Emma's toxic mother shows up, and Justin is assigned guardianship of his 3 siblings. And so they are obviously dealing with a lot more than they expected. So it's their relationship. Very excited about this. Like I said, I've never read an Abby Jimenez, but I've heard really good things about this one. And it feels perfect for like, I'm still not fully in the fall vibe. I want to be, but I'm not quite there yet. So this will be good at the beginning of the month to kind of like finish out the summer vibe for me, and then dive into some more spooky reads. But this is the one I'm choosing for that because it came out earlier this year. Number 7. Read a standalone. The next one is to read a standalone. So for this one, I'm going to go with The Ghosts of Rose Hill by R.M. Romero. This is the author, I read something by this author before, that wrote The Dollmaker of Krakow. This one is a little bit different, but it does have the same vibes. It's historical, I believe, and it follows a Jewish main character. So this one specifically follows our main young girl, and I think her name is Yana, maybe, but she's visiting Prague. She's visiting her aunt. She really wants to play violin. She thinks she's really good at it, and she this is her passion. But her parents want her to have a little bit more of a stable career in the future. So while she's visiting her aunt, she discovers a cemetery behind her aunt's house, and while just kind of like walking around discovering stuff, she runs into the ghost of a young boy. And so they kind of become friends as she restores his grave, and he kind of like shows her some of the more, like, he just kind of shows around Prague a little bit. And then you also have a third character, which is this Rudolph Wasserman character. It says it's a man with no shadow, so it's giving me like fantasy vibes. He's kind of giving the same vibes like Dr. Facilier from Princess and the Frog, so like voodoo man, magic guy that's like not so great. And he kind of like offers her a deal to hang out with this ghost forever, and there's some strings attached. So it's definitely going to have some magical realism elements. If it's anything like the book that I read previously by this author, the writing is absolutely beautiful. The cover clearly is stunning. So I don't know what to expect with this one. The audiobook for this is not very long. It's like 4 hours. So I'm really excited to see how this is going to go, but this is the one I'm going with because it is indeed a standalone. And number 8. A recent purchase. The last one for my TBR basket is a recent purchase, as in a book that you purchased this year. So I recently picked up The Moth Keeper by Kay O'Neill. This is a graphic novel, and this is the author who wrote the Tea Dragon Society series, which I love. So I picked this one up, I'm gonna be completely honest, because of the author. I love their work. I love their art style. I think it's absolutely stunning. I'm not really sure what it's about. It doesn't really have a synopsis. It quite literally just says, Anya dreams of spending just one day under the warmth of the sun, but it might cost her and her village everything. Who knows? I did find this in the middle grade section, so I'm thinking this is a middle grade book. But based on the other books by this author, like the Tea Dragon Society, that's the vibe this author has, is the kind of more middle grade vibe. But I love the Tea Dragon Society. The story was beautiful, the art was beautiful, so that's why I picked this one up. And we'll see how it goes. But it's a graphic novel, so that will hopefully make some of this reading this month a little bit easier. Moving on to my Magical Readathon, ORILIUM Magical Readathon TBR. Like I mentioned, I will leave the announcement video down below if you have no idea what I'm talking about. The idea behind this readathon is that you create your own character and you go to a magic school. And there's 2 readathons throughout the year. The first one takes place in April, and it's you take a bunch of classes based on a career that you choose for your character, or you don't have to choose a career at all. And then in the second half of the year, you take a bunch of tests for those classes. So in the spring, there is 1 prompt per class. In the fall, there are up to 3 prompts per class, depending on your career. So as I have done in the past, my main focus is going to be the Master of Elements career, which is only 8 prompts. So I'm going to really focus on this one. And again, for the second year, I'm going to really try to do the Wild Form Druid, which is 12 prompts. So there is some overlap, but there's a total of, if I do both, there's a total of 15 books I need to read this month. That's not happening. I've tried for, I think this is my second year that I've tried for the Wild Form Druid, and I'm always okay in the spring, and then we get to the fall, and it's ridiculous. But I've tried to stack myself with some graphic novels. She's also started a point system where you can buy scrolls that'll help you, and you can choose a book for multiple prompts, or you can bring a book over from a previous month, or you can continue for a month before. There's just some stuff that you can based on a point system, you can buy things to help you out. So I don't have any plans to buy those yet, but they're in my back pocket if I need them. I have the 15 books planned. That's what I'm going to share with you guys today. But again, Master of Elements with the 8. That is my plan. And I'm also planning on vlogging this entire month. Again, we'll see what life has in store for me. We might be doing just a lot of sit down and talking to you vlogs, but I hopefully will update you on thoughts. There are quests. There are group books. There is a bunch of other stuff that you can add on as well. We'll see. But that is the plan. So starting off, my Magical Readathon prompts. I have the Elemental Studies class. I need all 3 for this one. The first one is a fave scent on cover, title, or author. So I've chosen The Ghosts of Rose Hill by R.M. Romero because Rose is in the title. I love floral things. My 2 favorite scents are lavender and rose. I couldn't really find anything that I wanted to read that had lavender in it, but rose is in the title and maybe on the cover. I'm not 100% sure about that, but this is my plan for that one. The next one is, as of when I watched her video, she was like, so whatever book that you were currently reading or just finished, pick 100 pages or so more than that, and that's the book that you need to read. So I just finished one of the Allie Hazelwood novellas, and I had written down that it was 112 pages, and so I'm choosing The Mothkeeper for this one because this one is, I don't know if it's going to tell me here, but on Goodreads it's about 224, 225, somewhere in there. So that is the plan for this one. It's about 100 pages more than the one I was reading previously. So the final prompt for Elemental Studies is Sparks on the cover. So I'm doing the True Love Experiment by Christina Lauren for that because this cover is just all sparks, all fireworks, everything. Next one is the Shapeshifting class. And again, for both of my careers, I need all 3. So the first one is Jewelry on the Cover, or in the title. So I'm going to choose Never a Hero by Vanessa Lynn, which is the 2nd book in the Monsters series. And as you can see, it's got a time turner compass sort of necklace thing on this cover. So that's what I'm going to choose for this one. I really enjoyed the first book, so I'm very excited to see about the second one. I think there's going to be a 3rd one at some point, but I'm not sure when that one comes out. This is my Fairy Loot edition. Isn't it beautiful? It follows our main character, Joan, who is working at this ancient house of sorts in London over the summer, and something goes down, some stuff happens, and she discovers that she is part of a family of monsters. Now, there are a bunch of different groups of families, and each family, there is one thing that makes you a monster, this one magical ability that makes you a monster, and then your family gives you a second ability. So you have her, and she has a crush on a guy named Nick. Turns out Nick is a monster hunter, and so she ends up having to team up with this guy named Aaron, who's from a rival family, to kind of get some stuff, because stuff goes down in the first book. It's all kind of time travel-y-ish, and I loved it. The first one does have a somewhat end, so that if you are happy with how that one goes, You can be done. I want more. So this is what this one's about, and I'm curious to see plot-wise, because of how we ended, where we're gonna go. But this one has some sort of jewelry, I think, on the cover, so that's what I'm choosing for that one. This one is a planet name in the title, so I'm gonna go with She Who Became the Sun, because this one was really hard. I'm not gonna lie, this one was one of the harder ones for me to find. I had quite a few that were actually quite hard this year, but this is the one that was really hard. Sun is a planet. That's what I'm choosing. The next one is one of the other ones that was really hard for me to find something for, and that was a compass on the cover. I do not have very many books. I honestly almost used Never Here because I thought that might be a compass. Turns out it's not really a compass. But I'm going to go for this one. I do have the audiobook free through my Audible subscription, and that is The Devil and the Deep Blue Sea by Amelia Wilde. The part of a trilogy, so we'll see if I want to continue. It's a like pirate kind of story. I also read somewhere that it's like loosely based on mythology with Poseidon. All about that. So it says a modern day pirate, an heiress lost at sea, and a treasure of a lifetime. So our main character is aboard her boyfriend's yacht, but jumps overboard to save herself. Don't really know what happened there. She's kind of drifting, and then a man rescues her. However, he kind of keeps her captive, and it's the two of them. He's planning on like ransoming her off. So, and then there's a romance between the two of them. I really have no idea. I literally just Googled books with compasses on the cover. Like, it was the most bizarre Googling to try to find something for this. But I did. So this is what I'm going to go with. We'll see. This one is not required for Master of Elements. It is required for Wild Form Druid, so we'll see if I get around to this one, but that's the one I have chosen for this. All right, the next one is Animal Studies. Again, all three. The first one is Phoenix on the cover or in the title. Again, one that was really hard for me to find, and then I kind of went on the Discord for the Magical Readathon to see if anyone had like suggestions. And this one kept popping up, and I was like, why did I think of that? And that is Somewhere Beyond the Sea by TJ Klune. This is the second book to The House in the Cerulean Sea, and as you can see, there's a phoenix smack dab in the middle. Now, this one doesn't come out until, I think, the middle of September, so I have to, like, find some way to find the audiobook for this, but there's a phoenix on this one, and I am interested in it because I love TJ Klune. You guys know this, and I loved House in the Cerulean Sea, so I'm very curious to see what the second one's about. Do I know? No, but Phoenix. So here we go. The first one takes place at this home for like magical children, and so our main character goes there to kind of like audit the place and ends up like falling in love with the family and the guy who's running it. So that was my very first TJ Klune book, and I just have not looked back since. So very excited about that one. The next one is a standalone. Now I know that I had a standalone set for this earlier, but I've already used that. So the other standalone that I'm going to, maybe we'll see. I've got some other options if this one doesn't work, but that is Happily Never After by Lynn Painter. This is an author that I've read from before. She wrote Mr. Wrong Number, which I absolutely loved. This one I saw at my used bookstore just randomly and kind of fell in love with it. It's not very big, so I'm very excited about that. Because their name, The Objectors. Their job, to break up weddings as hired. Their dilemma, they just might be in love with each other. So we have Sophie and this guy named Max. And so they are hired as objectors to people's weddings. And I think they work together and are falling for each other. So I don't know. It sounded fun and cutesy, and I love this author, so I'm curious to see what it's about. It's a standalone. Yay. And the last one for this class is a book that has a cover change. So I've chosen The Ones We Burn by Rebecca Mix because this is the Fairy Loot cover. Now, I think, if I remember correctly, the prompt is from like indie to traditionally published book. However, this did get a cover change in the sense of like, this is the Fairy Loot Special Edition. So I'm bending this one a little bit to me. But this one, if I remember correctly, is about like witches, and it's giving me the fall vibes, so I'm hoping that this one will be in the right vein maybe for me. So this one has a very similar prompt or plot to other books that I've read. We follow our main character, Ranka, who just wants to be left alone, but she ends up being named as the Bloodwind, which is the next treaty bride to one of the human kingdoms, and her coven sends her south with a single directive to kill the prince. easy enough for a blood witch whose magic compels her to kill, except the prince is gentle. So like it's the two of them kind of falling for each other. I've read this similar idea of like forced marriage with an assassination attempt or assassination plan in the works, but witches. And I've almost unhauled this multiple times, I'm not gonna lie, but I'm so like all of a sudden interested in it. So it's on my shelves. I really want to read it. We're gonna make it happen. The next prompt is astronomy, and I only need the first one, which is a book released in your birth month. So I was born in June, so I'm gonna go with The Sizzle Paradox by Lily Menon, which is the author of Makeup Breakup, which I love. This is also, she goes by Zendaya Menon when she writes YA books. I started this, I actually got the arc of this. This came out like 3 years ago. So this one came out in 2022. So it's been a couple of years, but I'm going to do it, dang it. And this is a contemporary romance. It follows our two main characters, Lyric and her roommate / best friend, Kian. Now, our main character, they're in grad school, and she is kind of creating this sizzle paradox idea of like romance with her thesis, and it just isn't working out. So she asks her best friend Kian to help her out because he's kind of a little bit of a ladies' man. So it's the two of them working on her kind of thesis. She kind of like gives her dating advice as she goes out and she starts dating all these men, and then of course it's their relationship. Things are not going to go as planned. They're going to probably fall for each other. Are we shocked? So that's the one I've chosen for this. The next class is Restoration. So the first prompt for this is Night Sky on the cover. So I have chosen Practical Magic by Alice Hoffman. There's about 3 or 4 different cover ideas for this one, but at least one of them has a night sky. This one, I'm sure many of you know what it is. It is part of a series. I believe it's the first one in the series, but I might be wrong about that. But there's a movie that's like really, really popular around Halloween. So I'm part of an in-person book club in-person / Zoom book club. And this is the prompt for September or October, whatever the next month is. This is the prompt for, or the book for that. So I've fit it in here. I loved the movie. It's quite good. It's definitely like one of those like cult classic kind of movies. I have never thought about reading the book, so we'll see how this goes. But that is my prompt or my plan for this one. The next one is Poisonous Plant on the cover and the title. So I've gone with The Hemlock Queen by Hannah Witten, which is the second in the Foxglove King series. Obviously, hemlock right there in the title. Also, I'm pretty sure it's on the cover as well. The first one follows our main character, Lore, and she has magical abilities that kind of like deal with death. And so in the first one, she ends up being caught using magic. And instead of being sent to death and to prison like she thought she's going to, the king decides to use her because he thinks some suspicious stuff is going on in his court revolving around his son. So she's kind of like forced to be part of the court and figure out what's going on. And she gets the help from this guy who is this world's version of like a monk or priest. And so it's a little bit of it's not really a love triangle, but it's kind of a love triangle between the two of them. I really enjoyed the first one, and I'm curious to see what the second one's going to be about. Last one for this class is a title that has a verb in it. So I'm going to be choosing A Sign for Affection, the second volume, because sign in this instance is like sign language. So like they're actively signing. So that's what I'm using for this one. And the last class is Art of Illusion, and I only need the first 2 prompts for this one. The first one being Random Emoji Generator. So I did that. I did the Random Emoji Generator, and we got a black flag. So I decided to go with a dark window for this one because it's got black on the cover. It's also got this like spooky sort of like, I envision the monster in the story to be kind of like a black cloud. I know he's in our head, so it's not like actually real, but if you look on the cover here, that's a black monster looking thing. So that's the vibe I'm going with for this one. Also, it's giving gothy spooky, which is gives me like, if I had to pick a color for gothic spooky, it would be black. So a couple of options here, but that's what I'm choosing for this one. And the last prompt, finally we're here, for this one is to read a prequel. So for this one, I have chosen, and we'll eventually get this book at some point, Queen Bee by Juno Dawson, which is the prequel to the Her Majesty's Royal Coven series. Now, I have not read the second one yet, but I'm thinking because it's a prequel, that's going to be okay. But this one takes place, I've talked about this series a lot, it's basically like set in our world where there is witches, and they are kind of like their own government, which is the HMRC. The first book follows 4 different women who kind of group together and like dealing with this kind of situation where there is a kid that's supposed to be thought of as like the end of the world, and there are different reactions to that. There's a lot about trans rights in this series. Now, this one takes place back, and I believe it is Anne Boleyn's time period, because in this world that this author has created, the HMRC was created by Anne Boleyn and kind of during that time period. So this one is a prequel, as in like historical, kind of going back to how this was created and why this was created and things like that. So I'm excited about this one. I have this on audio, like on my Audible. I don't know if I'm going to get to this one because, again, this one is not required for Master of Elements, but is required for Wild Form Druids, so we'll see. But this gives me perfect witchy fall vibes. I really want to read this book. I love historical things, and historical witches just sounds amazing. So that's the prequel I'm choosing. And that's it. There is a group book, but I haven't decided if I want to read it or not, so I'll talk about that in my vlogs if I decide to do that. I'm not holding my breath just because it's not one that I had originally thought about. Like, I had no interest in picking it up anyway, so we'll see. There's, like I said, some quests, so we'll see how that goes. But that's my plan. Stay tuned for my vlogs. Hopefully those will tell you a little bit more about what is going on and my thoughts as I read things. I try to do this pretty well. I think everything I've been able to find an audiobook for in some way, except for like maybe one book. And then I also was able to sneak in some mangas and graphic novels, and there are some books in here that the audiobooks are really short. So I have the ability, I think I'm going to have the ability to be able to listen a bunch this month. So we'll see how that goes. But that's my plan for September. I hope you guys enjoyed this very long video. As always, if you've read any of the books that I mentioned in today's video, let me know all your thoughts down below. If you're participating in Magical Readathon, what are you planning on reading? What is your careers? What are the classes you need? Tell me some stuff that you're excited about. Or if you're not participating, that's totally fine. Tell me something that you are planning on reading in September. Are you someone who likes to do seasonal readings? Like, you're ready for the fall books? Let me know that. I do have a fall TBR that I'm planning on getting to you guys at some point. So, thoughts. But that's it. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below if you'd be part of this awesome growing family. I've also got all my social media down there, as well as other fun bookish links, so check all that out, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!